वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो। We are doing this morning in India, this evening of Tuesday in the West, the 100th class in this Bhagavad Geetā series. We have come to the 4th chapter. We have been in the 4th chapter for quite some time now, and we have covered several kinds, something like 14 kinds of spiritual exercises. Sometimes they are spiritual ways of living, not necessarily compartmentalized in specific modules of exercises. The way you live could be a yajna, 14 kinds of yajnas, and a statement that will apply to all these 14 of them is, in every one of them, something lower is sacrificed to gain something higher. And that is how in a ritualistic yajna, something is offered in fire and great benefits are derived as the phala of that yajna. So we now enter the 32nd shloka of this chapter 4, where Sri Krishna praises all these yajnas and says every one of them is meant for every sadhaka or sadhika to rise higher and higher. So we have 32. Evam bahuvidha yajnaha vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan vidhitan sarvan evam jnatva vimoksyase. Brahmano mukhe. We had quickly seen this, therefore we'll go over its past. Brahmano mukhe. In the Vedas. In the Vedas are found a number of yajnas, bahuvidaha yajna. And Lord Krishna makes an incisive statement. No, all of these to belong to the domain of doing. All of them are karmaja. Karma is doing. In contrast to jnana, which is seeing. Seeing is perception. Doing is expenditure of physical energy or mental energy, vocal energy. Kayena vacha manasa, they say. You may act physically, kayena. You may act through speech, vacha. You may act through just thought, that is manasa. But they are all karma. In contrast, jnana is darshana. Jnana is seeing. A student once asked a question to me in a class. What comes first? Jnana or karma? The context was not the ultimate Brahma-jnana, where also it can be applied, but even in the context of, let us say, somebody every morning does yogasana, pranayama. It's doing karma. Do you think that that will not have a result as regards his perception? In modern terms, in terms of medical language, we will have to say that regular yogasana and pranayama and maybe right food, taking walks, in natural surroundings. All these which are doing karma will lead to certain changes in the medical side of that person. Various glands will not secrete the same amount of chemicals as they were doing before. It is said that yoga has a therapeutic side to it. In the famous Kaivalya Dhama in Lonavala, between Mumbai and Pune, you have great work going on in yoga. More than 100 years old it is, established long back by Swami Kuvalayananda, now run by, I guess, the Ministry of Human Resource Development, HRD. That sponsors it. It comes under a certain wide umbrella of central government, though it enjoys a degree of autonomy. This Kaivalya Dhama, the celebrated yoga center, a lot of people know it as a place where they go and learn yoga. They do a 10-day camp, 7-day camp, maybe 15 days they stay, learn. So one is yoga shikshana, learning, education, yoga education. The second is the yoga research. There is a research wing. But now what I am especially touching upon is the third wing. It is yogic therapy. People having different ailments, or as simple as diabetes, etc. We may not call it ailment. It is a certain imbalance that needs to be handled. So in yogic therapy, which is taken up by a lot of organizations, I just gave the example of Kaivalya Dhama, even Kanyakumari Vivekananda Kendra or Vivekananda Kendras at various places. So many decades ago, Dr. H.R. Nagendra and his sister were so much into yogic therapy. Then it grew into a center. Then it is a well-known deemed university now. S. Vyasa in Bangalore, Swami Vivekananda Yoga Anusandhana Sanstana in deemed university, where degrees, postgraduate degrees, and even PhDs are awarded students. So my point is, you do yogic exercises, karma, certain parameters of various secretions, or maybe they are called hormones, maybe they are called other medical terms, they change. And then when they change, your perception changes, your jnana changes. Gold, which used to attract you before, power and position, which used to attract before, ice cream or some other object of pleasure, which used to really make you drop everything and go for it, do not attract you. Your perception changes. Sometimes you may see an object of pleasure, certain temptation arises, but because of the inner changes, you will not be falling for those temptations. But go further. The objects may not tempt you at all. You may not even notice them beyond a certain point. You move on. So, my student asked me, is it through Vedanta study that we contemplate? Vedanta gives us a different way of seeing, and as a result, we live differently. Or because we live differently, starting our day with asana, pranayama, and so on, in the example, perception changes. I had to say, these are in a way parallel processes. Some people may begin here and automatically this other side will be changing. Some may begin over there and this side will change. The way you live, let me sum it up now. The way you live can bring about changes in your perception. And changes in perception initiated by jnana, by study, by listening to satsanga, of course, can make you live differently. Therefore, karma is about doing things, living, whether you take coffee in the early morning or start with warm water. A small lifestyle change, right? You may begin with a glass of warm water or some herbal tea, or you may go for coffee with a lot of milk and sugar and this Indian coffee, and then having enjoyed it, may go for a second cup of coffee, reading newspaper for half an hour. That's how your day may start. So that's karma. So I'm going pretty long. It's not karma jam. The yajnas, out of the 14, are 13 of them are karmaja. One of them in verse 25, second half, where yajnam yajnena eva upajuhvati. You sacrifice your ego in the fire of higher understanding. That is the Brahma Yajna, Jnana Yajna, which was described in a full shloka, 24, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, Brahmagna, Brahmanavtam. That is not Karmaja. That is Jnana Yajna, the highest sense. But Jnana Yajna on a lower level can mean the giving discourses, conducting study groups, participating in study groups, and so on. But at the highest level, Jnana Yajna is where you don't let the ego raise its ugly head at all. You cause or you make the ego get burnt away in the fire of right seed. That is Jnana Yajna. But all other 13, Dravya Yajna, Tapo Yajna, Swadhyaya, Jnana Yajna, the study, not the ultimate sublimation of ego. Scriptural study also is called Jnana Yajna. And of course, yoga, asana, pranayama, indriya sanyama, all of them were called yajnas. Karmajan vidyitan sarva evam jnatva vimokshase. If you just read this shloka, you think that, okay, understanding them to be karmaja, all the spiritual exercises, spiritual practices are in the domain of doing karma. And if I know this, mokshase may be taken in the relative sense. I am freed from a lot of headaches, lot of suffering. I am freed from a lot of worldly misery. Adi Shankara gives a different, as we shall see in the Bhāshya, evam jnatva, he takes it to the highest level, knowing that all these yajnas are in the domain of doing. Extend that knowing, extend that knowledge. Then staying anchored in the insight that I am not a doer. There is a whole domain of a million things you and I can do in life. But there is another domain where it's a quantum leap. You don't look at yourself as a doer at all. And Adi Shankara says, that insight, I am not the doer. Only if you do, you are a winner or loser. The whole world is generally very attached to how to be a winner, how to win, because they are in the karma bhumi. But the Vedanta student, the advanced one, leaps to the higher level. I am not a doer at all. How can I lose? How can I win either? How can I be having more stress? How can I be having less stress? Stress stress relief, all of them are in the karma bhumi. For that pure self, which is not acting, there is no karma at all. And when there is no karma, when there is no karta, where is the question of stress, agitation? So let's take a look. एवं यथोक्ताः बहुविधाः बहुप्रकाराः यज्ञाः वितताः विस्तीर्णाः ब्रह्मणः वेदस्य मुखे. We said it in last class also. ब्रह्मणः here means वेदस्य मुखे. वेदद्वारेण अवगम्यमानाः. They are to be known through the Vedic studies. A whole lot of spiritual literature that are popular these days, including Bhagavad Geetā, are restatements of the Vedic truths. Brahmanaha mukhe uchyante vachihi pranam juhumaha. Naitare Aranyaka, Adi Shankara refers not just to Upanishads, but the Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda, and so on. Vachihi pranam juhumaha. Somewhere it is said, we offer as oblation our prana into speech. Prana into speech. So this yajna imagery, something is offered into the fire of something else, is mentioned in the Vedas to start with. Karmajan, kaika vachika, manasa karma udbhavan, says the Bhāshya. Vidditam sarvat. And as I said, without stopping there, Shankara goes a step further. Nirvyaparo hi atma. Who am I? Am I a doer of asana, pranayama? Am I a doer of dana? Am I a doer of indriya sanyama? What am I doing? I am actually a non-doer. Nirvyaparaha atma. This is a punchline. In Shankara's commentaries, at some places, there are such crisp, sharp statements which can send you to heights of meditation. You just stop there. Nirvyaparo hi atma. I am a non-doer. Even as during the day you do 100 things, this Vedantic insight will, if not remove, weaken your identity. You do, on a certain level, you look at yourself as a doer, but you also appreciate, I am actually a non-doer. Nirvyapara. Evam jnatva vinokshase. You will be liberated, understanding yourself in this way. So Adi Shankara does not spare any opportunity to point out that Bhagavad Geetā is actually a Vedanta work. Let people like Gandhi or Vinoba Tilak and others highlight Karma Yoga and make the masses believe as though Nishkama Karma is the main teaching of Bhagavad Geetā. Adi Shankara says that is okay for large numbers of people. For those who have the eyes to see, those who are more advanced, Bhagavad Geetā primarily is a Vedanta Grantha, which means Brahma Vidya, which means Atma Jnana. You know your true nature. Your true nature as Nirvyapara. Vyapara here is action. I have no action at all. Na madvyaparaha ime. Whatever I am doing during the day, these are not my activities. When the moon seems to be moving in the sky, if you see properly, it's not the moon that is moving. What is moving is the clouds. Nirvyaparaha. Ete na madvyaparaha. They are not my actions. Clouds are moving. The moon is not moving. Therefore, indriyas are operational. I am not. Nirvyaparaha udasinaha. Udasina. Ud means above. I sit above. Therefore, friends, start applying Vedanta right away. When you get agitated over some matter, have a minute of contemplation on such a statement. This agitation belongs to the mind. This stress belongs to the body. I am not the mind or body. I am nirvyapara. In Atma Bodha, there are some 6 shlokas. Out of 64, 6 shlokas are made for meditation. One of them says, Amanastvan name raga, name dukkha, ragadvesha bhayadayah. Since I am not the mind, amanastvat, manaha, mind, amanastvat name dukkha, ragadvesha bhayadayah, aprano hi amana shubbraha, ityadi shruti shasanat. Mundakopanishad has that mantra. Divyo Hemurta Purushaha Sabhahyabhyantaro Vyajaha Apranaha Amana Shubraha Avyaktat Paraha and so on. So, I am not the mind. I have no mind. I am pure awareness. This mind is an illusion. Mind is a myth. If you inquire what this mind is, mind vanishes. Manasam tu kim margane krute naiva manasam. Right? So, Atma Bodha gives summary of Vedantic teachings in those 6 shlokas. Amanastva name dukkha ragadvesha bhayadaya. And then everything falls like a house of cards. And meditating even for a minute or two on the Vedantic truth and get back to work. Do the best, leave the rest. There is no reason for you to suffer from negative self-judgments. Oh, I failed again. Oh, I have messed up my life. Oh, I don't know whether I should continue to live. I'm getting suicidal thoughts. Oh, and so on. All that cannot happen. A drop of, I'll use the word, a drop of Vedanta Dhyana can take all that away. You do what is possible with a smile upon your face. The society says you are a failure. You just smile at them. Thank you for saying that. Don't be carried away by this mad society. Some Swamis also get sometimes perturbed that maybe, they used to have a lot of people following them and they now have less people. If they worry about it, there is a problem not with the people, not with the society, not even with their being unpopular. It's not a problem at all. You are being popular or unpopular. Your books being read by a number of people or not is not an issue at all. The Swami, the Sadhu, the speaker has to understand the basics. The problem is you are identified with an image. I am an author of a book which is translated in 22 languages. Suppose you identify with that image. My book is translated in 22 languages. Nowadays, some hotels are keeping my books in the rooms. It is so popular, etc. It's an image. And Vedanta says, Nirvyaparaha. I never wrote any book. Leave alone it's selling well or not selling well. I am Nirvyaparaha. I am pure consciousness. So, the 6 shlokas in Atma Bodha finally say, Evam nirantarabhyasta brahmaivasmiti vasana harati avidya vikshepan rogan iva rasayanam. Rasayana here means right medicine. Just as right medicine removes roga, diseases, constant contemplation on the Vedantic truths will take away avidya vikshepan, harati avidya vikshepan. So, evam jnatva samyak darshanat mokshase. You will be liberated through this samyak darshana, samsara bandhana. Now Shankara says, connecting to the next sloka, Brahmarpanam ityadi shlokena samyak darshanasya yajnatvam sampaditam. With the 24th verse itself talked, and then this samyak darshana was one of the yajnas among the 14 also. Yajnascha aneke upadishtaha. Many yajnas have been instructed. तैहि सिद्ध पुरुषार्थ प्रयोजनैहि. Through those yajnas, whose prayojana, whose purushartha, what they can get us in life, is siddha, is established, is made clear. Through them, or in that context of all these yajnas, more than anything else, samyak darshana, right seeing, which is a cut above all other yajnas, is praised. Samyak darshana yajna stuyate, or he says, jnanam stuyate. Therefore, this chapter itself is called Jnana Yoga. Though other topics have come here, finally all of them are intended to praise Jnana. So, Jnanam stuyate, then Katham, how? 33rd says, Shreyan dravyamaya yajna Jnana yajnaha parantapa sarvam karma akhilam partha jnane parisamapyate. Shreyan is a comparative adjective. Dravyamayat Jnana yajnaha Shreyan. The sacrifice of one's ego, one's limited self, is the highest. It is way higher than any dravya. There was a certain king as described in Chandogya Upanishad, and this king was known for a lot of charity, lot of good work. He did lot of Shrauta and Smarta Satkarma. Shrauta means Yajna, Yaga, etc. from the Vedas. Smarta here means the Laukika. He built various facilities, various amenities. I was reading a book on Chanakya Niti. It is said by the author Radhakrishnan Pillai, Katha Chanakya, that's the book in front of me here, Katha Chanakya. So, one of the stories has Chandragupta Maurya holding a meeting with his advisors, and in that particular meeting, Chanakya is not included. But Chanakya knows what is going on in it. And next day, during a walk with the king, Prime Minister Chanakya asks, what was discussed yesterday? And Chandragupta says, we are going to do this, we are going to do that. Call for the capital and for the kingdom of Magadha. Magadha and Pataliputra, which is today Patna. And then Chanakya says, so whole meeting was about the capital only, or some small province? What about larger, the whole country and so on? So then Chandragupta is awakened. Says, I should not think of only beautifying my capital and maybe some main areas. There should be something called what today they say inclusive thinking. Inclusive. Do for the towns, do for the villages also. Do for the so-called upper castes, have enough programs for the so-called lower castes also. Do for tribal community also. Two things: a good president or prime minister, head of state, has to ensure that his government, her government, does things for all sections of the society. Therefore, that is inclusive work. So, that thing in Chandogya Upanishad, chapter 4, to whom Shankara Bhāshya makes a reference without mentioning the names, was wonderful, but there was a slight pride in him that I am the noblest person. And then some birds flying in the sky keep talking to each other. And one bird praises this king. And that king is at that time on the terrace. He hears what the birds are talking. And another bird says, this king is no doubt great, but he is nothing compared with an enlightened man called Raikwa. The story of Raikwa comes in Chandogya Upanishad, chapter 4. And the king is a little disturbed. And later in that story, the king goes to Raikwa and then he understands that the Raikwa is not anchored in Satkarma, Shrauta or Smarta. Raikwa, the illumined man, was anchored in his understanding of his being the unborn, Akarta, Atma. So, Jnana Yajna, the state of Raikwa, is Shreyan, way higher than the Yajna, Dravyamaya and other done by the king. Sarvam Karma, finally all noble work culminate, sort of they dissolve in pure Jnana. We call it literally mind blowing. You are no more attached to the mind. Sarvam karma kilam partha jnane parisamapyate. So Shankara explains it. Preyan dravyamayat dravya sadhana sadhyat. When I talk of projects these days in the world, oh, this work needs to be done. Project, a bridge has to be built, a dam has to be built. Nowadays in the IT sector, so much of IT projects, information technology. Everywhere there is so much of capital to be invested, so much of money. Dravya sadhana. Shankara mentions Dravya sadhana sadhya, where not only we become karta, we become doer, we have to use money and other samagri. Hey Parantapa, Sri Krishna calls Arjuna Parantapa, Paran Tapayati. You are such a great soldier, you make your enemies get agitated, nervous. They are scorched by you. Dravyamayo yajnaha palasya arambakaha. With that larger picture in mind, Adi Shankara says, in all Dravyamaya yajna, finally they come together to decide phala, what you will get. In a larger picture, it is about next life, where you will be born, what your next life is. Dana yajnaha na phalarambakaha. In Jnana Yajna, there is no talk about next life, about moksha. You are not born again, everything is sorted out. Your long journey is over. Anadi mayaya suktaha yada jivaha prabudyate, says Gaudapada in Pandukya Karika. Prabudyate, it's a great awakening. There is no next life, no phala. Ataha shreyan prasasyataha. It's more praiseworthy. Katham. Because today those who are attached to karma and they may even criticize jnana. And they may even say, there are popular statements, the hands that serve are holier than the lips that pray, and so on. Very right, wonderful. We also quote it in a context. But actually, the hands that serve, lips that pray, all of them take a back seat when there is the mind-blowing understanding. Sarvam karma, akhilam apratibaddham, without exception. Nane moksha sadhane, sarvataha samplutodakasthaniye parisamapyate antarbhavati ityartha. Shankara refers to the 46th shloka of the second chapter, where it was said, Yavanartha udapane sarvata samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanataha. In a certain village, there was a time where everybody had to go to this well or that well, walking kilometers to collect water and bring the pots home. But then times changed. There was a lot of rain in successive years, and every home which had a well but there was no water before now had plenty of water in every home. The well that belonged to the particular home. Nobody needed to go anywhere. So Gita in the 46th verse says, there is no purpose in the wells which are far away, sometimes outside a village and so on, when everybody has water right at their own place. Samplutodake literally means when the village is flooded. That would be another issue. But practically what it means is, every house has plenty of water in their own well. They don't have to go anywhere. So those other places lose their significance. Likewise, even the greatest of karmas, most laudable, most praiseworthy acts of service, etc., lose their significance. And that is where Shankara quotes the Chandogya line from the story of Raikwa. Yatakritaya vijitayadhareyaha sanyanti evamenam sarvam tadapi sameti yatkincha praja sadhu kurvanti yastadveda saveda. So chapter 4, section 1 and the 4th mantra of Chandogya Upanishad. This is a reference to Raikwa. And what is meant is, it's a context of Vaidika karma. There's a certain karma within the karmas also as an analogy. If you do a certain karma, then the phala that you would get from many other karmas are already included in this. Do this, and those are not necessary. In modern simple example, if there are 10 rupee notes, 20 rupee notes, and 50 rupee notes, many of them. And here is a bundle of notes, bills, currency bills, 100 rupees. Just as someone who gets a 100 rupee note doesn't have to pick up 150 rupee note, 2 10 rupee notes, and 1 10 rupee note, and so on. Let's say 2 20 rupee notes. Yeah. So the lower denomination are already included in the higher denomination. One just ignores having collected the higher denomination currency bill. So, Raikwa's wisdom. This is what the king hears, that Raikwa is way ahead of me. And all the good karma I am doing is a drop in the bucket compared with the wisdom that Raikwa has. And then he goes and meets him. So that example is given by Adi Shankara. Towards the end of this chapter, we have real praise of Jnana 42 verses we have. So in the last 9 verses, the focus is praising Jnana. Some of the much quoted lines like Nahi Jnanena Sadrisham, etc. are coming now in the remaining slokas. But we see one more sloka in this session. Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, therefore Arjuna, go for knowledge. All this work looks glamorous and people get excited about doing this, getting such and such result and so on. But if you know Brahma, then all these are already included in it. Therefore, how do we get that wisdom? It is by approaching right teachers. So the famous, all these are famous slokas, of course. 34th sloka. Tadetad Vishishtam Dhanam Tarhi Kena Prapyate is the link. How are we to get this highest wisdom, in which everything is included? Go to a guru. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tatvadarshinaha. So, tadvidhi. Arjuna, please come to know it. That vidhi, know it by approaching teachers and pranipata. By literally it means prostrations, literally going down, bowing down before them, bowing down. Pariprashnena, asking them appropriate questions for whatever they teach may not immediately become clear to you. At the right time, in the right way, ask the right questions. Pariprashnena. Most explicitly, Gita encourages dialogue between teachers and students. Certain freedom, not any freedom, any amount of freedom, but certain freedom to ask questions, to interact, has been encouraged. It's not a tradition where you have to just take whatever is said without question. Pariprasneya, sevaya, and do service, serve the teachers. And the teachers, used in plural, teachers, upadekshanti, will teach you, will instruct you. Jnaninaha, they are great wise people, and they are tattvadarshina. In Mundakopanishad, Shrotriyaha Brahmanishtaha said. Those two words correspond to the word here, Nani and Tattvadarshi. Depending on the context, the word Nani can go up or down. Since Tattvadarshi is said separately, Nani can mean Shrotriya. Tattvadarshi means Brahmanishta. That means knowing the words, knowing the mantras, knowing the descriptions is one side, and realizing it, knowing the truth of and being anchored in that truth, Brahmanishta. So both are needed. Somebody may be a Brahmanishta, but if he is not a Shrotriya, then his communication will not reach larger number of people. To communicate and help a student come up, rise from one level to the higher level, requires what they call hand-holding. So hand-holding is facilitated when a teacher is equipped with very many tools, very many things like examples, logical lines of thinking, language, vocabulary, and setting examples by himself. So there is a whole toolkit of a good teacher. And a good teacher has to use those tools. What tool he uses with one student may not work with another. So the teachers use many tools and help the students rise. Jnanina tattvadarshinaha. And that's where quickly Shankara Bhāshya says, Vijanihi Vidhi means vijanimi. Pranipatena. Prakarshena nichaihi patanam. That's what the expression is. Dirgha namaskara. And about questions, Katham bandhaha, how is bondage caused? Why am I suffering? Katham mokshaha, how can I be freed from suffering? And Kavidya, what actually is this wisdom? And Kacha avidya, what is ignorance? These are the kind of questions. And one comment worth referring to is Sevaya Guru Shushrushaya Eva Adimena Prashrayena Avarjita. Avarjita somewhere else can mean you make somebody yours, you make somebody, you get a certain control over somebody. So getting a certain control over somebody. So what is this? How can students try to get control over teachers? In the present context, as a Tipanakara clarifies, what is meant is the student get full confidence. Teachers are able to look at that particular student as truly worthy of higher and higher knowledge. The teacher has nothing to hide, but if the teacher perceives that the student is caught in some confusion, student is not really open, then the teacher, not because he has any intention to hide anything, may not say. The Tipanakara in my book says the teacher loves all the students, but then those students who serve the teacher in such ways where more than the service rendered, there is a certain clear indication of a nirmala mana, a pure mind, not a mechanical mind, not a mind that goes more by externalities. A student may think, okay, I'm going to give water to the teacher. Even when he is not thirsty, even when he is reading something, you want some water? I'm just dramatizing it. That is more a disturbance to the teacher. To ask him when he is reading something, studying something, to interrupt him in the name of seva. So then the teacher understands. This student, this young man, wants to serve me. That's very nice of him. But it's so mechanical. Sometimes in the name of service, he is actually imposing on me. He is actually distracting me, disturbing me, and whatever. And that also a noble teacher has no problem with it. But then the noble teacher understands that person is not yet open to the highest knowledge. More of values have to be taught. More of that, such a student has to be taught how to slow down, how to be receptive, how to be perceptive, how to be, maybe there are some visitors to the teacher, and the teacher would be more happy if this young man attending on him 24 hours takes care of those visitors. The visitors are hungry. Go give them some bananas. The visitors are thirsty. Go give them some water to drink. Don't stand just behind the teacher saying, I am here to serve you. Service to me is better rendered by taking care of those visitors who have walked long distance and come here. So the Tipanakara makes it clear, the teacher loves all, but then if the student's behavior is more mature, then the teacher is also likely to upadekshanti. Jnanavantaha api kechid yatavat tattvadarshanaशीलाः rahvicinasti tattvadarshinaः. So, as we have already said, tattvadarshinaः is like they are beholding the truth in a manner of saying, not just going by the words of the scriptures, their own life, their own day-to-day situations, They are actually Tattva-darshina. And with that, the commentary on 34 concludes. We'll take up 35 in Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.